This video marks the start of a new series for me on this channel, something very different from what I normally do. It's going to be much more casual. It's not going to be me coming to you guys as an authority on anything or trying to teach you anything or, do comparisons or any of that sort of stuff. It's going to be very much me just documenting a journey with you guys. And the journey is going to be based around 2 vintage amps I recently acquired. And yeah, I'm really excited to get started on this. I hope you guys enjoy this series. It's not for everybody, but it's really going to be me just kind of learning, trying, failing, all of those things, and documenting it along the way. So we'll see how this goes. To be honest, I have no idea, what's next. I don't know how long it's going to be, how short it's going to be. I really don't know, but I hope you guys tune in and follow along. So taking a step back, vintage amps, what am I talking about here? Well, about 2 months ago, I was going through Craigslist and I spotted an amp I'd never seen before. And it was a brand that I'd heard of but knew nothing about. So I looked at it. I was like, oh man, it's kind of in a price range to where I'm interested. It's old, which kind of immediately piques my interest. And I decided to reach out to the guy, schedule a time for me to come take a look at it, and then frantically research online to see, what is this amp? Is it something worth pursuing or not? Trying to answer as many questions as I can. Turns out there's very little information about this amp online, but from what I did gather, I thought, okay, this is worth me going and looking at. So I looked at the amp, I played it, was blown away. It sounded unbelievable, nothing like I'd ever heard before. It was incredible. So obviously, I bought it, took it home, played it some more, and it was just fantastic. So it started kind of, showing its age a little bit in places. And so I was like, okay, keep that in mind. And I was just kind of looking through Craigslist, maybe a month later, and I spotted another amp by the same brand. And it was a teeny little amp, not the same kind, but it was even older than that one. So I decided to reach out to the guy, tried to buy it. He ended up, somebody was in front of me, and was going to sell it to that guy. Super bummed that I missed it. It was taken off Craigslist. And then a couple weeks later, it popped back up on Craigslist. Turns out the owner decided not to sell it. He wanted to keep it, and then changed his mind again and wanted to sell it. So this time I was able to be the first in line and went to the guy's house, brought my Strat. The guy told me the amp worked, and, brought the guitar, and the amp worked for a couple seconds and then just started displaying all sorts of very troubling issues, crackling noises, volume going down. It was just clearly this amp needed a lot of work. So I was kind of posed with the dilemma. Do I go ahead and just pass on this amp because it needs a lot of work? Or do I look at this as an opportunity for me to learn? Opportunity for me to really dive into vintage amps, for me to learn how they work and how to work on them to maintain them. So after some internal back and forth, I decided to make the guy, a reduced offer, and he accepted. And here we are. Now I have 2 vintage amps, and I love both of them, but they need work. And I don't know how to work on amps yet. To be honest, I don't know. So, but I want to know. And I thought, why not just record my journey of kind of starting from the ground floor of really knowing very little about tube amps. I've swapped tubes like once. That's kind of where I'm starting from. To me discovering, what's inside these amps, how they work a little bit, kind of troubleshooting things, and hopefully fixing the amps and making them kind of good for decades to come. So that's the goal of this series, is really just to document this journey and take you guys along the ride with me. So what are the amps? Well, one of them is over my shoulder here. You might have seen it in my last video sitting in the same place. It is a Magnatone 440. It's from 1961, and Maybe you've heard of Magnatone. You've probably not heard of a 440 though. It's kind of this, I don't even know how to quantify it, to be honest. It's almost like a beefed up Princeton, or maybe a slightly reduced Deluxe if you look at it from Fender land. It's got reverb. It's got what Magnatone's kind of known for, this incredible vibrato circuit, not tremolo, but vibrato, pitch vibrato. And it is an amazing amp. So that's not going to be the focus on in this series, however, at least not for a while, because that amp's very complicated. The other amp I picked up, like I mentioned before, is a small little version of a Magnatone. And so that amp is this. This little guy is called a Magnatone 108 or Varsity Deluxe. It is very small, as you can see. I mean, it weighs like 20 pounds, and it is finished in this wild covering. I don't even know what you call it. It's not Tolex, but it's some kind of plastic covering. It's called, or known as, Mother of Toilet Seat, which is hilarious to me. And this amp was made in 1955, which is incredible. I imagine this in 1955, so cool. Even cooler, on the back, the faceplate on the back is this like wild teal color. So this amp has got tons of character. It is so cool. It's obviously seen better days. And really, it's very simple. So it actually has the schematics still in it in like perfect condition. I'll show you guys in a second. So I looked at this amp as an opportunity for me to learn how to work on amps. There's very little risk. You know, I'm not worried about a super valuable collectible vintage Fender or anything like this. These are relatively unknown. And yeah, let's see how it sounds. Let's see how can we get it to be solid. I would love to play this out. I think this would be it's a killer home amp, but also a killer little pairing for the Princeton or the other Magnatone for a little stereo rig. Yeah, I just think there's so many cool possibilities with this. So that's really it. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at this amp, try and diagnose the issues it displayed, try and fix it. You know, some trial and error, some successes, some failures, I'm sure. I'm really not sure how this is gonna go, but I'm gonna take you guys along with me. So either way, you guys will see. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and just put this amp on my little desk here is my little workbench. And we're gonna go ahead and just poke and prod it a little bit and see if we can kind of diagnose any of the issues. Starting from scratch, I really don't know much, but I've been trying to learn as much as I can. There's some great YouTube channels out there that do, you know, amp tech work. So I will link them in my description below so you guys can kind of start your journey alongside me if you want. Again, I am not an authority on any of this stuff. I'm not an expert. I am learning and just documenting the process. So don't look to me for that. Look to these guys for that. You know, I will shout out Fazio or something like that. I'll have her channel in the description below, but her channel is amazing. It's unfortunately she hasn't uploaded in a while, but she has some really great videos that I highly recommend that gave me a lot of confidence to start looking at the amp and feel safe about it. And then there's Uncle Doug, there's Psionic Audio. There's several that are really good. So I will link them below, but let's go ahead and finish this video out by me just kind of taking an initial look at the amp. And yeah, all right, let's go do that. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at this amp and see what we're dealing with exactly. I think I'm gonna start with the front and kind of take a look at the baffle, because you can see there's 4 holes here, and then you can kind of make out this outline that's very irregular looking. So I think we'll explore this first and then we'll flip it around. So let's go ahead and take the screws off. All right, I'm assuming if I just tilt it, it'll kind of pop forward. There we go. All right. Okay, so got these very, very thin wires going to the speaker here. I think I will replace those for sure. Those look very thin and frail. This is interesting. Okay, so the baffle board looks to me like it's original. It's just plywood, which I think is what they usually are. Painted black, obviously. This speaker is clearly not stock or not what it would have had. This is a 10-inch, so it is a Weber Sig 10A. So it's obviously an Alnico speaker. I know nothing about that speaker. I've never heard of that before, but when I did play the amp, it sounded good. Obviously a 10-inch, so the baffle I can actually see, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this or not, but I can actually see there is a red outline where it looks like they kind of marked up where the 10-inch speaker would go, because this would have had an 8-inch from the factory. Okay, lots of rusty nails holding the grill cloth in, as well as some newer looking staples. I don't know if this is the original grill cloth. I'll have to look up online to see if they look like this or not. But either way, looking at this, I mean, this is so crudely installed. So you can actually see there's just straight up regular screws holding the speaker in, 3 of them. And then there's one that has a nut, and I can see the hole here. That's what corresponds with this hole that goes right through. These are holes in the grill cloth. That's where the speaker is. And then this one is that right there. So I don't know if that's one of the original holes or what, because that's like a nail or something. There's no head on that to put like a screwdriver or anything. Interesting. I'm assuming if I take the speaker off, this baffle is just totally trashed to kind of accommodate the 10-inch speaker. If you look at it again, I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but you can see this very odd shape here and then kind of a half circle here. So I think what happened is they probably just crudely cut out a portion to allow more of the 10-inch speaker to not have any wood blocking it. So just looking at this, I think what I'm going to do is replace the entire baffle. I'll just make a new one. I think it's just I don't know if there's a special type of plywood or anything. If you guys know, go ahead and comment below. And I'll just paint it black and then cut a proper hole for the speaker and then get some proper fastening hardware to mount this correctly. I, again, don't know anything about the speaker, but it sounded good when I listened to it. So I'm just going to kind of go into it using the same speaker. One thing I am a little confused on is I think normally these would have like a shield over it, like you'll see on similar looking Jensen's. I think they might have removed it to fit this bigger speaker so it didn't hit any of the internals in there. Just a guess. So if that is the case, it might be hard to fit any other 10-inch speaker in it anyways. So I think we'll just go into it keeping the speaker and maybe change it down the line if I think it's necessary. And then the grill cloth, again, I'm not sure if it's original or not, but I'm gonna change it. I don't want, even if it's original, I don't want kind of random holes in the front of it. So if you guys have any ideas for grill cloths, go ahead and comment below. Maybe we can find something that really looks good with this kind of gray combo with the teal backplate. Thinking maybe like oxblood perhaps, or maybe even like a silver fendery style grill cloth. I'm not really sure, but if you guys have any ideas, comment below. Then I don't know how well you'll be able to see. Yeah, I'll have to show close up, but there's the schematic that's in really good shape. I'll show you guys that in a second. Let's go ahead and flip it back around. I'll put this back in. So there you can see the really, really cool mother of toilet seat cover really well. It looks awesome in the light. It's like kind of holographic looking, and then this really wild teal kind of backplate. So one thing I noticed that I didn't notice when I went to go buy the amp, but I noticed when I went and looked at it the first time is this power switch right here. That is not original. They would have not had a power switch, so somebody added that in, which is a bummer because it's drilled into this and there's nothing I could do about that. But yeah, it is what it is. So maybe I can kind of take these wings off and make it look a little better, but thankfully it doesn't stop the knob from turning all the way. So let's go ahead and remove this. It's like we're missing one screw. These all look very old. I don't know if these are original or not, but for sure we'll need at least one more. Let me just pop this right off. Perfect. Okay. So obviously it's had the 3-prong grounded power cord mod done to it, which is good. Nothing wrong with that. I really have no idea if like what's original and what's not. So this power transformer, this other transformer, no clue. You can see that there's very little room. Hopefully you can see that. There's very little room between this power tube and the speaker. So I think if it did have that metal shield around the magnet there, it would not fit. So I think when I make a new baffle, I could probably mount it a little bit lower, maybe mount it a little bit more to the side to give a bit more room if I wanted to swap the speaker. But as is, I don't think I could swap the speaker, but that's fine, like I said. So let's go ahead and look at what tubes it has. I don't know if they're old or new. So this is a 5Y3 GT, so this would be a rectifier tube, and it is an RCA. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that or not. So it's an RCA, made in USA, 5852. So I don't know if that means it's a 1958 or a 1952 or something else, but either way, I think it's old. So I'll just put it over here for a second. Let's see, this should be the power tube. So this is a 6V6 GT. This is a GE Jan. I don't know what Jan means, but GE Jan CG 6V6 GT, also made in the USA. I think it's also old. This has the numbers 4-26 and then 188-5 on it. Okay. This right here is not a tube. This is, I think, a capacitor. Yeah, so I'll have to show a close-up of that later, but this is multiple capacitors in this like metal sleeve here. Then this is the preamp, which should be a 12AX7. Somebody wrote WEK on it, WE-K in blue pen. I don't know what that means. I see it says 12AX7 here, and I see no other markings on it. So no idea what that is. And then you won't be able to see it, I don't think, with the light. Yeah, okay, I'll have to move the lights around to show you the schematic. Actually, I'll just do this. Just grab the camera and try it. So there you should be able to see the original schematic. Very cool. In really good shape. And while I'm here, I guess I might as well I don't know how we'll be able to see that. It's the little multi-capacitor thing. Transformer. Then the other transformer. And there is the really cool teal faceplate. Varsity Deluxe, Magnatone, and one of my favorite parts right there, Inglewood, California. So it's around the LA area, so not too far from where I'm at.